Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Talkback here on KSYL. I'm Al Quartermont, joined this morning once again by Nathan Martin. As Sandra wraps up her vacation, she's got basically one more day, although we all will have off on Monday.
Oh, really? You're off Monday?
Yeah, it's Memorial Day.
I didn't know the show would be off. The show would be off on Monday. Good to know. Okay.
Yep.
I won't be here, so I didn't know. Didn't affect me, but cool. That's great.
Yeah. So get an extra day, kind of rest and relax and enjoy our families.
Well, you look like you're getting an early start with your Brew Crew jersey on this morning.
Let me show the camera here. There you go.
Yeah.
You know, I bought this a few years ago, and it's a little big now.
True that.
I had a few more pounds on me, but I still like wearing it. It's actually my favorite one.
Really?
So I've got several, but this is my favorite. But I might have to sell this one on eBay and buy a smaller version. So it's a little baggy, but I guess that's the way people wear them anyway.
That's the style.
Yeah, apparently so.
Let your pants go down to your knees. And
right.
Long T-shirt on the outside.
Yep. But
you're wearing the right brand of underwear.
Exactly. It is Memorial Day weekend. Everyone's going to be traveling. Not everyone, but a lot of people will be traveling. So they're saying it could be a very busy travel weekend. I know you're going to be traveling too. Huh?
I will be. I'm leaving Sunday after church with a dozen folks headed to see your son in Mexico.
Yeah, Mexico.
That's right.
At the kids, it's not an orphanage, right?
It's a children's home. There are a few orphans there, but the majority are children who are from impoverished families who otherwise might be living on the streets.
Wow.
And so they take these kids in and give them education, shelter, health care. They have actually an accredited school with the government, and they hire the teachers to come in and teach them. And the kids get a great life. They get to go home for a day or two on the weekend if there's a home that that can sustain them. Many of them come from single mother families who are having to work. May have come from other parts of the country to Reynosa is one of the fastest growing cities in Mexico.
Really?
And because of all of the NAFTA provisions that created these huge monstrosities of factories.
Yeah.
I mean, you drive down through Reynosa and you're seeing LG, Caterpillar, all the big the car companies. A lot of times if you buy a part and it says Hecho in Mexico, it was probably made in Reynosa.
Wow.
So but it's attracted a lot of people from around the country to come there. And unfortunately, there's been some situations in the past where maybe a husband and wife and then a couple of kids may have come to the border and he's like, I'm going to slip across and then I'll get established and send for you. And something happens, and she's there with her kids and tries to get a job. And so there are several orphanages or children's homes that have been established really by Christians to provide this complete family environment. Again, safety, medical care, education, and a Christian experience, a faith experience. So this is your son's, third trip? I forget. He's been on several now.
Third or fourth, I want to say.
And he's going to be staying a little bit longer doing an internship down there, which I'm super excited for.
Yeah, 6 weeks.
That's awesome.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, he was excited about it. He loves going. It's been, pretty much life-changing for him.
Yeah, and that's why I started doing this back in the 90s. I always targeted teenagers because if you can bring a teenager to another country, first of all, that's a huge experience.
Right.
Then you let them see what true poverty looks like just outside the gates of the children's home. I mean, you've got abject poverty.
Yep.
And they come home and they're thankful for hot water and mom and dad and Wi-Fi and and it's improved over the years. The city has had more of a middle class and an economic uptick, but it's still a third world country, and the kids absolutely do have life change. All three of my born daughters have interned there summers. Right around their senior year. My oldest daughter actually lived there for 2 years as an on-site missionary. And it's just been a phenomenal part of our life for 25, 30 years now.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's a wonderful ministry. That's for sure. So well, be safe going down there.
Thanks.
And I guess it's the epitome of the giant sucking sound. What's happened down there? No,
it absolutely is. You see all these companies that these places would have been constructing in America.
Yeah.
The Caterpillar plant. That is it's enormous. We don't have anything in Rapides Parish as big as that building, and they're building these huge Caterpillar vehicles that are being used all over America for construction.
Yep.
And NAFTA created that opportunity. So Mexico was wise to take advantage of it.
Sure.
But it certainly pulled a lot of creation of good paying jobs out of America to that location.
Yeah, which is a lot of what's kind of the atmosphere right now politically with President Trump trying to bring a lot of those jobs back to America. heard today that he's threatening to put a 25% tariff on iPhones if Apple doesn't start making those here. But probably if they made them here, they would cost at least 25% more. So there's the rub, But
by the way, I did save you the sound effect a while ago with your giant sucking sound comment from.
Oh, thank you for that.
Welcome.
Yes,
you told me never again. So
that was disturbing. Yeah. Now I'm thinking of it in my head. So,
but I didn't make it.
That's right. That's right. We got a big sports weekend on tap as well. LSU baseball in the SEC tournament. They'll be playing tonight, a game you can hear right here on KSYL, as it'll be Texas A&M. They got a win over Auburn last night. Sorry, Trish. But I heard on the Louisiana Sports Network that Auburn lost one of their better players to a broken hand, so that might be a little bit of an advantage for LSU. But go Tigers this weekend. Hopefully it's a great weekend for them. How about the LSU Shreveport Pilots? Their baseball team is 54-0.
Come on.
And they're playing in the NAIA World Series this weekend as well. So
wow,
54-0. That's, especially in baseball, it is so hard to win. I don't know if I've ever heard of that kind of record at any level of baseball.
Maybe in the minor league. Not minor league, in a T-ball game or something where they don't keep records, but the parents do. Because the parents keep the score. Sure, no, you're right. 54-0. That's a stunning run.
It is.
Wow.
Absolutely.
And look, and they don't have slouch competition either. They play LCU is in their.
And you know what? LC actually in the game that they played them earlier this year had the lead. I think in the series they played, 2 of the 3 had the lead late. So they could have been the one team that put a W on them. Sorry, Coach Burns. I know he listens to us. So
he's done such a phenomenal job over the years. It used to be Allgood. Billy Allgood was synonymous with LC sports and baseball. But, Mike Burns he cemented his name in that in that area. It's the Burns era for sure.
Oh, no question about it. And they had a nice season as well. Made the NAIA tournament as the conference runners up. So, and they lost that conference championship game to Shreveport, by the way. But anyway, yes, you had that. You got the NBA playoffs continuing as well. So, should be a lot of fun. Of course, this is kind of the unofficial start of the summer as well. By the way, in Grand Parish, the school buses are still running this morning. So I don't know if this is the last day of school up there, but
aren't they on a 4-day school week up there?
Yeah, but they usually have off on Monday.
Oh, it's Monday they're off. Okay. Okay, well, maybe they had the alternate schedule than we're used to.
I'm thinking this was probably the last day. It's got to be, right? But it's amazing how already the roads, you see a difference in terms of the volume of drivers on the roads around this time of the morning coming in when we don't have school. So, but yeah, unofficial start of summer. Of course, it's the kickoff of kind of the summer blockbuster movie season as well. You've got the new Mission Impossible movie that's out, Mission Impossible 8 with Tom Cruise. I've been going back and watching all the old ones. So far I've watched 1, 2, and 3, and I want to watch all of them before I go see this new one.
Great idea.
So I probably won't go see the new one until next week once I get through, because I have 4 more left.
So it comes out this weekend? I want to go back and watch 7 before rewatch 7, just so it'd be fresh in my mind.
Right.
I think I own all the other ones. My son and I are huge
really?
Mission Impossible on Amazon Prime or whatever.
Okay.
We buy them. I tip, and rather than rent, I buy. Although I don't own the physical media, but it's something that we get to enjoy. And my son and I love that series.
So it was interesting going back and watching the first one, how kind of basic it was,
compared to now. At the time, it was amazing.
Right. Yeah, and how young Tom Cruise looked in that first one. He looked like a baby, compared to now. So, but by number 3, they had kind of really upped the game in terms of some of the technology they were using and the action, really pushing the envelope. Of course, Cruise has a lot of his own stunts as well.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I saw an interview with him talking about him hanging off the side of the biplane, and they said, "How do you breathe?" And he said, "I didn't." You have to tuck your head in to be able to take a breath because the wind was coming across so hard that you could not breathe. And, he does. He's been injured doing some of his stunts too.
Right.
I would hate to be Lloyd's of London or whoever insures him.
Oh, exactly. I was talking to one of my people at church the other day, and I was saying, yeah, he and I are about the same age. She's like, no, he's way older than you are, and he's in the 60s. I'm like, yeah, I think he's 62, and I just looked it up. He is. She's like, well, yeah, he's older than you. I'm like, well, I'm going to be 60 this year. And she looked at me, she's with a stunned face. She's like, you're going to be 60? I'm like, yep. So
Yeah, I turned 60.
I know you did. Yeah.
I have to confess, it was my hardest decade.
Yeah.
30 was not hard. 40 felt great. I loved it. And 50 is like, okay, people are going to start taking me serious now. I'm not a kid. But 60 is like, there's this sense of my mortality that just, gosh, it felt so. Yeah. It was sobering for a few days.
Yeah, I've been feeling that way already.
You have, so I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
I know. I mean, us Gen Xers becoming 60 is just kind of crazy.
It is wild.
I think I saw a meme. It was something like Gen Xers. We were 20 years old by the time we were 10, and now we're still 20 years old when we're 60. You know,
there is still some immaturity in my head.
Oh man, I think it's because of the media we consumed growing up.
Probably so.
I don't know. So,
my wife is the same age as me. She's actually 45 days older than me.
Wow.
But she was the youngest of 6 kids.
Okay.
So she grew up with the older generation's music and their stuff. So she really is more of a baby boomer in the way that she looks at things. It's a very interesting dynamic between us.
Yeah.
Because I'm the oldest in my family and she's the youngest in hers. Even though we're the same age, we really are part of different generations.
Do you ever drop the okay boomer on her?
I haven't yet, but the day is coming.
All right. Well, we need to take a quick break. And when we come back, we have a lot more to jump into. And we invite your calls as well. I should mention that coming up at 8:05, State Representative Gabe Firment will join us on the phone and kind of run down the events that happened this week down at the legislature, especially as it pertains to automobile insurance. And then at 8:30, Jay Huner will be here, and he's got an extensive background in some of the outdoor type things, including biology and specializing in crawfish. So we're going to talk crawfish. Why not? For a half hour. Well, it should be fun. Anyway, that's what's coming up here on Talkback on this Friday.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics with 27 providers and 3 locations. Someone can see you today. Stick around. More of Talkback is on the way.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Stocks headed for a lower opening today amid threats of new tariffs. President Trump threatening to hit Apple with a levy of at least 25% if iPhones aren't manufactured in the U.S. Apple makes most of its iPhones in China and has no smartphone production in the U.S., but has promised to hire more American workers and pledged to spend billions domestically over the next 4 years. Shares of Apple down 3.2% in pre-market trading. Southwest Airlines continues to see softness in air travel and expects revenue to drop another 4% this quarter. Slow demand has pushed many carriers to pull back their profit forecasts. Some have even withdrawn their full-year earnings outlooks. And A24 and Bandai are now working on a live-action film based on the fantasy role-playing game Elden Ring. George R.R. Martin, whose Game of Thrones series inspired the game, will be among the movie's producers. No release date's been announced, but the game has shipped more than 30 million units, and a version of it is set for release for Nintendo Switch 2 out next month. Monica Ricks, Bloomberg Radio.
Looking for fun, learning, and excitement at your fingertips? The Rapides Parish Library has you covered. With our easy digital online calendar, signing up for events has never been simpler. Whether it's story time for the kiddos, workshops, painting classes, book clubs, or special guest speakers, you can browse and register right from your phone or computer. Just click, search, sign up, and show up. Head over to our website at rpl.org and get connected today.
If you'd like to take part in the show today, call the BOM Bank Talkline at 442-8255. That's 442-TALK. And remember, if you're looking to purchase or refinance your home, call Christina Bagwell at the BOM Bank Mortgage Department at 448-2430.
Now back to Talkback, 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYO.
Well, I guess we have another sure sign of summer. Taylor stuck his head in here to tell us that the Matthews family has their Bayou Super Corn on Bayou Rapides. Did I get that right?
Well, it's Super Corn. And when I go to Facebook, believe it or not, they have a Facebook page, Matthews Super Sweet Corn for Matthews Produce, and they're at 6389 Bayou Rapides Road, and that's what we were being told. You definitely, it's a sign of summer when the Super Corn is available.
There you go. So looking forward to that. This, of course, is the wrap-up of graduation season. We had Superintendent Jeff Powell on the show on Wednesday talking a little bit about that. All the graduations are done. But I don't know if you've seen this or not, Nathan. There's a young lady from Tioga High School who's going viral right now.
The prayer.
Yeah.
Absolutely stunning. I talked to Ben Arrington yesterday about it, the principal. He's the guy standing behind her.
Okay.
And I said to him, you did a real good job of, maintaining your poise. And he said, all I could think of was don't mess this up. But she was amazing. And that prayer is definitely sweeping.
Yeah. Well, somebody posted it to TikTok.
Oh, did they? Okay.
But now it's on YouTube. And I'm looking at it right now. Has 35,000 views on it. Her name is Aniston Stokes. Aniston Stokes. And I was doing a little searching last night on Facebook about it. Turns out she had actually put the video of her prayer on Facebook, and Facebook deleted it.
Really?
Yeah. Can't have stuff like that on Facebook.
Come on.
Seriously.
Well, somebody else had put it on YouTube, and I'm trying to remember who it was. Josh
Bryant.
Josh Bryant, yeah. And his is taken off. That's the one I'm
talking about, yeah.
Okay.
With 35,000 views. So, because it's on YouTube, I thought we could let you guys take a listen. So, this was Tioga High School's graduation last Friday night. Senior Aniston Stokes delivering the prayer on behalf of the students, and take a listen.
Holy Father, Jesus, thank you. Through every trial, tribulation, death, heartbreak, loss, you are there. You are always there. There has never been a day or a minute that you weren't in it. I pray for the graduates sitting behind me. Lord, would you set their minds on the things that are above the earth? I pray that their minds would be set to the one who paid it all for them. Make it very real to them, just how real you are. I pray in the name of Jesus Christ that you would deliver them from addictions, pain, depression, oppression, rejection, and everything that has them bound. May you guide their every footstep. Lord, in your presence, hearts are mended and chains are broken. Lord, would you mend the hearts of these graduates and break every chain at your name, Jesus. Make the darkness in their life flee. Lord, I pray for the parents of these graduates. Lord, would you give them peace and clarity in knowing that you got their children in the palm of your hand. May you give them peace and joy that surpasses all understanding. Peace that we can't even fathom. Lord, I pray for the admin, counselors, teachers, substitute teachers, janitors, and everyone who works at Tioga High School. Lord, would you do it for them too? They may not see the impact or what they're doing. They may not see the fruit of it, but Lord, let them bear the fruit from being the laborers in the harvest field. Would you continue to give them wisdom and knowledge to pour out on students and the people around them. I pray that your spirit would rain down on us, oh God. Let absolutely no one leave here tonight without feeling your spirit and presence with them. Lord, let no spirit but the Holy Spirit touch us. Lord, you're the only one sitting on the throne. The glory is yours and yours alone. Kings and kingdoms bow down to you. What a God you are. What a faithful God you are. That's how much power you hold. I pray that these words which I have spoken will not return unto us void, but reach the very throne room of God. We truly love you, Jesus. And I speak all of these things in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Golly.
How about the boldness of that prayer?
That was stunning. And I love it. If you watch it, if you get to see it, some of the kids in the background are nodding their heads, and in agreement. There's something special there at Tioga. In the past, they've had some really neat things, all organized by students, where they had a thing on the football field 2 years ago. I remember they had hundreds of people come out for a completely 100% student-led, faith-based kind of rally in response to some of the crises that they were seeing in there. And the kids came up with this. They said, I think there'd been a suicide, and they're like, we have got to stop this. We've got to turn this around. So kudos to her and to the administration for, not having a heavy hand and because that is a student originated activity.
Right.
And I'm so grateful that they didn't censor or modify that.
No question about it. And of course, in a lot of places around the country, that wouldn't probably have even been allowed. But it's nice that we still have here in the South a lot of schools that allow prayer, student-led prayer like that. And she took the opportunity and made the most of it. So, like I said, I was just searching a little bit about her on Facebook, and she gives all credit to the Lord for where she is in her life, and you can see the sincerity of her heart right there, which is just absolutely amazing. So it's going viral, and it should go viral.
It should.
And, there's something happening with the younger generation. I've been reading more and more about it. More young people now are coming to faith because they've been sold a bill of goods of what's really kind of the emptiness of modern society, the pushing of all the things like, sex and drugs and all of that. And they're finding just the emptiness in all of it and are looking for something more meaningful. So you're seeing record numbers of young people starting to go to church again, which is great. I've said all along, where it was really broken was when men stopped taking their families to church. I think is where it started. And, a couple generations later, here we are. And then kind of on the other side of the spectrum, you had the incident that occurred in Alexandria the other day. A student from Ash was shot and killed on Clark Street, 17-year-old Ash student by the name of Corey Brooks. And I saw the post on Urbancast about it and all the comments that people were making. And so here you have at Tioga, the celebratory moments and people praising this young lady. And then you have across the river at this other high school, a young man shot and killed, just emphasizing and underscoring again the senselessness of this youth violence that we continue to see here in the city of Alexandria. And why? Why? A 17-year-old cut down. It's just so infuriating. And heartbreaking for sure. Let's take a call before we go to our break. Good morning, you're on Talkback.
Hey, you're talking about prayers with young people. Did you see the interview with the Sterlington High School baseball player?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's on. I shared it on my page if you want to go check it out. But it's basically on the KNOE News. There's they won I think they won the state championship. If I'm not mistaken. I'd have to go look. But he got at the end of the interview. It showed at the end of the interview. I think it's on the the K Down show or something like that. That's who shared it. But they had, the guy said, he's a baseball player. He said, can I say one more thing? And he said, I've been given this platform to share Jesus Christ, and he's your hope. And, I can help anybody, let me know. Those aren't his exact words. That's a summary. It's worth checking out. So it's another young person. So it's got all these colleges across the nation. There's revival a spiritual awakening breaking out. So something is definitely going on, like you were saying.
Which is amazing to see, that's for sure. So let me see if I can. All right, well, appreciate you bringing that to our attention.
Yeah. Y'all have a good day. Enjoy the weekend.
All right.
It's going to be beautiful.
Thanks.
And by the way, on TikTok, that prayer has been viewed over 2 million times.
Ooh. See, that's what I'm saying. And that's the number one platform for young people these days. So, all right, we'll take a break and come back.
KSYL.
The cost of air travel is more than just the ticket price. It's also fuel, meals, lodging, parking, and time. Recalculating. The more we fly AEX, the better our chances of bringing back flights to Houston and Charlotte. Support AEX and help our community grow. Find your true cost at local.flyaex.org.
The legend lives on is coming to Alexandria. It's the world-renowned Elvis tribute, starring Moses Snow and Craig Parker, two electrifying performers bringing the king back to life on stage with special guest MC Elvis Presley, former tour producer Charles Stowe. Friday, May 31st at the Laborde Earls Entertainment Center next to the Coliseum. Showtime is 7 p.m. Tickets start at just $29. VIP meet and greet tickets available for $69. Get yours now at the Coliseum box office or Ticketmaster.com.
Got a big day ahead of you? then it's best to fuel up with some of Sinlah's best at Bricato's restaurant. Walk right in and just smell that home-style cooking. Place your order, take a seat, and do breakfast right till 9:30 this morning. Get fresh biscuits, eggs any way you like them, melt-in-your-mouth pancakes, grits, hash browns, sausage, bacon, even wraps and sandwiches. And don't forget their fresh brewed coffee. Bricato's restaurant, 28 West, right across from the Coliseum. Your breakfast is waiting for you.
Talkback. To take part in the show, call 442-8255. That's 442-TALK.
All right, we're back. And regarding that clip that Brian mentioned, I queued it up. Let's see if I can get this to work. Take a listen.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
Oops. Why is it not playing? Let me try this again. Here we go.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
It keeps cutting off. Maybe Facebook deleted it.
It's a conspiracy.
Yeah. The only thing I could think with the young lady why her video might have been deleted is if that music that was behind it, like there's music, if that was copyrighted.
That's a possibility.
Then they have like a detector and it'll...
Yeah. I didn't even notice the music. I was so focused on the pro.
Oh, yeah.
So, in fact, when you started playing it just now, I heard the music. I'm like, was there music behind that when I listened to it? But I watched the same video from Josh Bryant, so I know it was.
Right.
But by the way, the young man, the KNOE piece that he was talking about, there's two quotes from there. He said his closing quote was, "He changed my life and he will change yours."
Wow.
So that's it's commented in the headline there. So
wow.
Great. I mean, you talk about the young people that are just becoming more bold with their faith, and we're seeing them becoming they're becoming more conservative.
Right.
They're looking at abortion and totally differently than maybe 20, 30 years ago. And I'm going to tell you something surprising me. They're looking at pornography differently. They are actually turned off by a lot of what has been shoved down their throats.
Sure.
And I'm not saying across the board, but I'm hearing more and more young people, taking stands on their own, not initiated by, and maybe some good teaching at home, of course, but saying, I am saving myself for marriage, and I do want to preserve this part of my life whole, and I feel yucky when this happens. I don't want, so kudos to them, and thank God for that generation that's hopefully being influenced in the right direction.
Yeah, hopefully so. I mean, there is definitely something happening, which is encouraging and exciting. All right, to the phones we go again. Good morning, you're on Talkback.
Hey, look, have y'all ever checked out Google Gemini?
Have not. That's the AI of Google.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. You don't say stuff like "Hey Siri." You just start talking to it and have a conversation with it.
Wow. I saw they released something new that people are using to make videos with now as well that are incredibly lifelike. So
it's incredible. I had a friend of mine who speaks Chinese. I was talking in English and she started talking to it in Chinese.
Wow.
And it's just switched to Chinese. It just kept switching back and forth between English and Chinese when we were speaking.
Wow. Yeah, I have a friend that has whatever the Google phone device is, and he uses it to have conversations with. Get advice. I mean,
it's unbelievable. You can ask it anything. You can ask it about Christianity, anything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you think about it, Elon Musk is making these robots that are going to be very lifelike, and a lot of lonely people out there in the world that may all of a sudden have some companionship. But I don't.
It's frightening because you can see down the road. This is going to be your attorney. It's going to be your doctor. It's going to be everything because it knows everything.
Yep.
I have begun using AI in sermon prep and like asking it questions to give me a background on something, and I have found that it gives me a concise answer quickly that pulls from different resources, and it's been very, very helpful. Now it's not going to sit and preach my sermon or prepare the sermon, but like I asked it the other day, what were Jesus' hardest commands? And it gave me 4 different things that Jesus said it considers. So see if you agree. Love your enemies, turn the other cheek, forgive 70 times 7, and love your neighbor as yourself. So, I mean, That was just a generalized, quick question, but I've asked it other information about, like, you start digging into some of the Old Testament nuances of stuff, and you want to figure out the peace offering, or you want to understand grain offerings or the wave offering, and it just it kind of pulls all this information together, and it's been very helpful.
Interesting.
It's going to be your teacher. So in 10 or 20 years now, we're going to have schools like we have now?
Probably not. Yeah, probably not.
We all have a great day.
All right, thanks. Yeah, some great points that he's bringing up. I saw in our show prep this morning that there was a writer for the Chicago Sun-Times who used AI to write an article that he was writing about recommended summer reading lists, but people were noticing that while the authors' names were real, the books that he was saying that they'd written were not real. So he's been fired.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's the Chicago Sun-Times. That's not a minor newspaper. That's a major newspaper. And they fired him, saying they were deeply disturbed by his actions. I know he didn't learn that in journalism school.
No, he didn't. Shortcut.
All right, another call. Good morning. You're on Talkback.
Hey, good morning. Thank you for taking my call. Dr. Larry Arnn from Hillsdale College. I wanted to do a deep dive into AI, and so he had two of the experts as he measures them, and he interviewed them, and they were talking to him about all that they can do, things that y'all were talking about. And he said, let me ask you this. He said, the greatest joy in my life is my little 6-year-old granddaughter. He said, will they be able to make a robot that will have an AI that can make a robot that'll come sit on my lap like she does? And they said, yes.
Yep.
That was, yeah. So anyways, thanks. You have a great day.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you think about it. You know, could it be like, let's say you have a granddaughter like that, and God forbid something were to happen to her and she would lose her life, and you could make a recreation of her. I mean, people will do that.
Well, there's movies about that very thing.
Wasn't that like the basis of Pinocchio?
Well, there you go. That's right. So that wasn't AI. That was magic, but kind of like the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So
what was that movie, the animated movie, where all these people, they were trying to find a new planet to live on, and everybody on this huge spaceship sat in these floating chairs, and they all weighed 400 pounds because everything was done for them. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I never saw that one.
Maybe a caller can tell me that. But there was a movie. It was a sort of a kid's movie.
They were all 400 pounds.
But 4 or 5. I mean, every single person on the ship was humongous because robots did everything for them, and all they did was eat. That's all they did was eat and, entertain themselves. And it's like, I wonder if we're not far from that, except for, Ozempic might,
So even give you the shot.
I guess get your robot to give you your shot. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it is. Yeah. If the Lord tarries, we may see unbelievably mind-blowing things.
I know.
And, of course, things that'll be used for corrupt purposes, too, unfortunately. So, I mean, I've seen videos of, like, the robotic soldiers that they're making, begun the Clone Wars have.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics with 27 providers and 3 locations. Someone can see you today. Stick around. More of Talkback is on the way.
All of us have that one friend who can just light up the room with a smile. And sadly, how many of us are just a little bit envious of that friend? Well, here's the good news. The folks over at Today's Dental in Pineville can deliver that beautiful beaming smile. Over the years, hundreds of hopeful patients have visited and been completely satisfied. They've made getting dental implants an amazingly simple, low-anxiety procedure, one that's affordable for anyone's budget. The staff at Today's Dental go out of their way to make you feel comfortable with calming in-office IV sedation that's administered by a highly skilled, certified nurse anesthetist. And their multiple finance options make the entire procedure truly affordable. Isn't it your turn to light up that room? Give Today's Dental a call at 448-4540. It's a general dental facility on Highway 28 East in Pineville, owned by Dr. Jonas Gauthier. That's 448-4540.
Attention all real estate agents, property owners, and lenders. When you or a client needs a real estate attorney, call the professionals at Thompson Law Firm. Whether the legal matter is basic or complex, the Thompson Law Firm can accurately guide you or your client to a successful outcome. That's why numerous industry professionals have trusted the Thompson Law Firm for years. They also handle estate planning, successions, and business law. Call them at 473-0052. I am a paid non-client attorney spokesperson.
Deal deals are happening now. From instant savings on select tools to free battery offers on some of our most popular battery tool sets. You can enjoy great deals and do it all with Steel. Shop online or in store at your local Steel dealer. Offer valid for a limited time only at participating dealers while supplies last.
Talkback, 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYO.
All right, we're back, and let's go back to the phones. Good morning, you're on Talkback.
Good morning. I guess the question I had about the robots with I know they can, I'm assuming they can program emotion into it and the way it should feel and the way it should react, and they can program action into it. But is it the same emotion? Is it the same between the robot and the non-robot? I question whether they can get that right, and I guess maybe over time, the reaction to the robot would become real.
Right.
So, I don't know. I'm wondering about the emotion and the deep emotion when you talked about the granddaughter sitting on the grandfather's lap. So, okay, thank you.
Yeah,
that's a great point.
I know there's HBO had a series a couple of years ago called Westworld, and it was sort of like that, where they created this town where people would come to live out their fantasies with essentially these robotic figures, but there was a lot of depravity with it too.
Right.
And eventually the robots start to get almost smarter than the humans, and they kind of take over.
You can't figure out which one's the human,
right,
which one's the...
Right.
That's actually based on a television series back in the 70s called Westworld.
Oh, really?
Or a movie. Yul Brynner played one of the characters in that, and I thought that was a great movie in the maybe in the 80s.
Yeah.
But then they made that series. But you're right. And it just goes to show how the imagination of man comes up with these ideas, and then later science seems to catch up to them. You know? I mean, so much of the Dick Tracy stuff is real life. You know?
Right. I was thinking that.
You know, I do phone calls on my watch. I don't have video calls on my watch, but phone calls. I mean, so many things are like that.
Yeah.
So, but before we go to the top end of the show, I wanted to comment. I went yesterday to the farewell ceremony Dr. Carl Carpenter at Baton Rouge High School hosted.
Yeah.
And it was a kind of a come and go event. People could, come whenever you could, a couple hours long. But they had, they had the choir sing at one point. They had some skits from faculty, a lot of neat different things. The thing that got him the most and was at the very end, John Neal, who's the new principal at Pineville High School, unveiled a plaque. They're renaming the music building the David Carl Carpenter Music Building. And I'm going to tell you, Doc Carpenter, I don't think I've ever seen him cry until then. Wow. It choked him up. And, because he's been a music educator all of his life, in addition to being, principal. And that really got to him. So that was really cool. And we had him on the show earlier in the week. Trish and I were here with him and his wife, Terry, celebrating his 45 years of education. And what a great person he is. But that moment was really, really special yesterday afternoon.
Wow. Pretty incredible. So, another interesting note, WrestleMania was supposed to be in New Orleans next year, but the WWE came out yesterday and announced that they're not going to have it there now, after all. They had a performance in New Orleans a few months ago. The Rock was there and made the announcement. Next year's WrestleMania will be in New Orleans. Crowd went crazy. But now they've decided instead they're going to still have it in Las Vegas for a second straight year after they had record crowds this past year. So a lot of people are asking questions like, what happened?
Yeah.
And nobody's really saying why at this point. Now, WWE said they want to bring it back in the future, but just not next year. So it's a big loss for New Orleans. All right, let's take another call. Good morning. You're on Talkback.
Oh, what a shame. Louisiana lost out again.
Apparently.
Okay, bye.
I thought she would have been talking about something else, but okay. So, yeah. So I was looking forward to going possibly, too. So
I could see you and Greg making a road trip out of that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I'd tag along just for the fun of watching you guys. Yeah. My son and I went to the last time it was at the Coliseum. Yeah. You were there with some friends, and I think you had Greg's seats.
We did.
And they were good seats.
Yeah, they were.
On the second row, I think.
Second row.
And we were on the first, maybe the second row of the tiered seating, so we were pretty close. And man, that's quite an experience.
Oh yeah, I mean it's WWE is kind of not rebranded, but they've reorganized because you had all the scandal with Vince McMahon. So he's not running the company anymore. Right. His kids, I think, are still involved, but Paul Levesque, who was known better as Triple H, is basically running the show now. But also the company itself was purchased last year by an organization that Dana White is affiliated with, who's the UFC guy, good friend of President Trump's as well. So they said that could have maybe had an impact on why the decision was made to have it again in Las Vegas next year, not New Orleans. So,
okay.
Yeah, too bad for New Orleans.
Yeah.
So,
by the way, I did look it up just now. The Westworld movie was 1973. That's how far back it was. And Will Brenner was the lead, and he was the robot.
Yeah.
But you didn't know he was a robot until halfway through the show.
Right. I'll have to go back and watch that one. So, all right, everyone. As we said, we've got a lot coming up at hour number 2. State Representative Gabe Firment will join us next to talk about what happened in the legislature this week, especially with auto insurance reform. At 8:30, Jay Huner will be here. We'll be talking all things crawfish. Why not? Here on a Friday Talkback. Thanks for being with us.
You've been listening to Talkback. The opinions expressed were those of the hosts and callers, and not necessarily those of Cenla Broadcasting. FM 104.9, AM 970, KSYL, and KRRV 100.3 HD3, Alexandria. It's 8 o'clock. This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. The price of an iPhone could skyrocket.
I had a little problem with Tim Cook.
President Trump's threatening to slap 25% tariffs on Apple products if the CEO doesn't move all production to the U.S. Mr. Trump explained in Qatar last week.
I said to him, Tim, you're my friend. I treated you very good. You're coming in with $500 billion, but now I hear you're building all over India. I don't want you building in India.
The president's also threatening new 50% tariffs on imports from the EU, and markets are reacting. Dow futures right now down 503. Breaking news from Cambridge, Massachusetts. Harvard says it's filed a lawsuit this morning against the Trump administration after the president's new move to prevent overseas students from enrolling. Correspondent Nikki Batiste.
The Department of Homeland Security revoked Harvard's ability to sponsor foreign students, accusing the school of fostering violence, anti-Semitism, and coordinating with the Chinese Communist Party. The university called the government's actions unlawful.
The suspect in this week's shootings that killed 2 Israeli embassy staffers outside a Jewish museum in Washington, D.C., has now been charged with murder. Josh Maxey, executive director of the Mishpacha Synagogue, tells CBS Mornings.
Unfortunately, since the events of October 7th, our community, the Jewish community, has been facing this. These horrific acts of violence has to stop.
Officials say a music company executive and a former drummer for a metal band are among the 3 people who died when their small plane crashed into a residential neighborhood in San Diego yesterday. No word on the fate of 3 others who were with them. The investigation is continuing. CBS's Carter Evans.
Oh, knock on that door. Authorities say no one on the ground was seriously injured, thanks to the military families who helped their neighbors escape the flames.
I can tell you this, the military families did a phenomenal job. I cannot commend them enough for what they did on scene.
Welcome to the start of Memorial Day weekend. And if you're leaving home, you're not alone. AAA expects a new record of more than 45 million Americans traveling more than 50 miles. Brady Cork and his family are driving to Kentucky.
We are hanging out at Grandma's pool all weekend. We've got 2 college-age kids, and we hope to lounge by the pool.
We're expecting a verdict today in the trial of a group of suspects accused of tying up Kim Kardashian at her Paris hotel room and stealing millions of dollars worth of jewelry. CBS's Elaine Cobb.
The 10 accused were given a chance to have the last word in court before the jury retired to consider a verdict. 2 of the accused, whose DNA was found at the scene, apologized for their part in the crime.
NAS futures down 368. This is CBS News.
Progressive Insurance. Progressive can protect your home, auto, boat, motorcycle, ATV, RV, and more. In short, a lot of things. Bundle today at Progressive.com.
Hey, it's Mike Rohn. If I have a choice, I like to do business with companies that actually stand for something. That's why I switched from Verizon to Pure Talk. No offense to Verizon, I'm sure they stand for something. I just don't know what it is. Pure Talk, on the other hand, is a veteran-owned company that supports our military in a big way, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I also appreciate unlimited talk and text and plenty of data for half the cost of the big guys, and I do like being on America's most dependable 5G network for just $20 a month. But what I really appreciate is no contract, no cancellation fees, and Pure Talk's commitment to handle all their customer service in this country. I saw it for myself. I went to Georgia, I got a tour of their headquarters, I met their CEO, and I talked to the same customer service folks that you'll talk to when you dial pound 250 and say keyword micro. Switch today and save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword micro. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
Louisiana Radio Network, I'm Jeff Palermo. On the heels of a $139 million increase in available funds for next fiscal year, an effort is underway to restore $30 million for high-dosage tutoring.
Leaders for a Better Louisiana's Chief Policy Officer Barry Irwin says one reason for Louisiana's massive jump in national rankings from 49th in 2019 to 32nd in 2024 was due to high-dose tutoring.
I'm afraid that if we don't continue with the path that we've been on, the successful path, and continue this high-dosage tutoring, we could well see ourselves falling back behind again.
Irwin says one key factor is legislators seeing the results from high-dose tutoring and realizing the need to prioritize education.
They know just as well as we do that tutoring was such a key component to it. So I think they understand it.
I'm Colleen Crane.
Memorial Day weekend is upon us, and it's the official start of the summer travel season. And AAA's Don Redmond says 45 million people will travel 50 miles or more this holiday weekend.
You have to go back to 2005 to see as many people traveling for the holidays.
LRN.
This is Dr. Jonathan Hunter with the clinics, where we pride ourselves in providing exceptional care. We offer a wide range of services, including primary care, family and chronic care, acute and urgent care, podiatry and gastroenterology, along with an on-site lab and x-ray. Our new family medicine physician, Dr. Noah Miller, is accepting new patients. Same-day appointments are available, and most insurance and Medicare are accepted. The clinics, 1587 North Bolton, 445-9823. Online at theclinics.us.
Well, good morning. Partly cloudy skies on our Friday with the possibility of some scattered showers or thunderstorms this afternoon. We're seeing about a 50% chance of that. Afternoon highs near 91. We'll see winds out of the south-southeast at 5 to 10. Now tonight, a few clouds from time to time. Otherwise, 73 the overnight low. And our Saturday, another warm day with partly cloudy skies. Afternoon highs near 90. Today's your forecast from the Cenla Broadcasting Weather Center. I'm Dick Gratian. Currently 75 degrees in Cenla.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics. With 27 providers and 3 locations, someone can see you today.
It's Talkback, Central Louisiana's longest-running talk show. Whether it's the guests or the callers, Talkback is where Central Louisiana begins its conversation.
What am I requesting? Say that again.
The original amendment said the jury could see the amounts paid. You didn't like that. You wanted the jury to be able to see the amounts billed and the amounts paid. So at your request, I went back and added that.
I assure you that wasn't my request. And if that's all we're here about, you can take that out and I'll withdraw my request if you think I made that.
Well, you 100% made that standing in that room right over there. You were pounding the table saying, let's tell the jury everything. Let's let them see the billed amount. You were just going to come up here and blatantly bald-faced lie, and I'm not surprised. But that absolutely
Whoa, guys, come on, remember, there's a certain amount of decorum that we expect to have in the Senate.
All right, welcome back to hour number 2 of Talkback here on this Friday. I'm Al Quartermont, along with Nathan Martin. That was a clip of just one of the many debates that took place Wednesday down in Baton Rouge in the Senate. Those were Senators Alan Seabaugh, who is from the Manny area, and of course Jay Huner from our area as well. Getting into it a little bit, dust up, and it was an interesting night. But at the end of the day, it sounds like some good progress was made toward automobile insurance reform here in the state of Louisiana. And the man who's been really in the center or the thick of this fight really for a year now is District 22 State Representative Gabe Firment, and he joins us on the phone right now. Good morning, Gabe. How are you doing?
Good morning, Al. Good morning, Nathan. I'm doing good.
I guess I didn't realize that when the senators debate, they stand face to face at the same podium with each other. Is that a pretty common practice?
Yeah, that's how they do things in the Senate. Wow. And yeah, it's a lot different from the way we do things in the House. But I couldn't hear the clip. I think I know the one that you played, and things got a little heated. I think you could even see the Senate Sergeant at Arms sort of get between our two friends there at the end.
Yeah, crazy stuff. But at the end of the day, I know you seem to be fairly pleased with the results of what came out of the Senate. Just kind of update the folks on what did happen Wednesday, late night actually, and what was able to pass through and where you think everything's heading.
Yeah, I was in another meeting Wednesday night. I was trying to catch bits and pieces of the Senate debate, and I think they stayed on the floor till almost 10:30 Wednesday evening. And of course, they were hearing for the most part bills that the House of Representatives sent over and that had made it through the Senate Judiciary A Committee. And look, I really think that what happened Wednesday evening in the Senate is historic. I really think that what we saw was the most comprehensive package of tort reform bills, definitely in the last 30 years, maybe in the history of the state. And look, Central Louisiana legislators on both sides of the issue were right in the thick of things, and we passed. The Senate passed 5 really good bills. There's another bill in there that I'm still trying to process, still have some questions about, but no, I am extremely pleased with where we're at right now. Of course, Senator Reese's bill still has to come to the House, and we've still got a few bills out there that we need to see get across the finish line.
Let me just kind of update for the folks what bills we're talking about that came from the House. House Bill 450 by Representative Michael Mellering would require someone who sued over injuries in a car accident to show that the injuries actually occurred during the accident. So that's step one. Talk a little bit about that bill.
Yes. So, when you read the description, it sounds crazy that that we even had to pass a law to do that. So right now we operate under something called the Housley presumption, and Representative Mellering's bill would repeal the Housley presumption. And so right now there's an assumption that an injury stemming from an injury happened in the auto accident, and the burden of proof is actually on the defendant to disprove that the injury was the result of the accident. So by repealing this Housley presumption, which no other state has, all we're doing is saying, hey, we're starting with a level playing field, and the injured party, the plaintiff, has to actually prove that this claimed injury occurred in the accident.
Okay. HB 434 from Jason DeWitt of Alexandria here would disallow a driver without car insurance from collecting an award for bodily injury, medical expenses for any amount below $100,000. That's a big change from the current amount.
Oh, this is a great bill by Jason DeWitt. And so right now we have a version of this law in place that says if you don't have car insurance and you're injured, and it's not your fault, you cannot recover the first $15,000 bodily injury damages or the first $25,000 of property damage. This moves that threshold up to $100,000 for both bodily injury and property damage, and this is going to be a tremendous help in reducing frivolous claims. We know probably 13% of vehicles are uninsured, and by raising the threshold up to $100,000, we're going to reduce a significant number of claims being filed by uninsured drivers. So just a great bill I'm very excited about.
The one that kind of confuses me a little bit, HB 431, Representative Emily Chenevert of Baton Rouge, Now, to describe it, would bar drivers responsible for at least 51% of an accident from receiving a damage award to cover their injuries. Under current law, a driver responsible for, say, 51% of the accident could collect a payment equal to 49% of the overall damage award. Explain that a little more, how that works.
Well, and look, it's really very simple, and it's all about common sense and fairness. And this bill, honestly, going into the session, we didn't think we had a chance to get passed, and this is really going to be huge. So right now in Louisiana, you can be 95% at fault for a car wreck and still collect a huge personal injury award. And that's just it's not fair. And so what Representative Schinneberger's bill says, and by the way, it puts us in line with about 40 other states, and all it says is if you're 51% or more at fault in a car wreck, you can't collect. And so it's just about fairness. If a accident is your fault, you're not entitled to sue for damages.
Interesting. How do they determine if someone is 51% fault of an accident?
Yeah, the jury does.
Okay.
The jury will determine the proportionality of
Gotcha.
fault.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So again, this bill will cut down on the number of claims filed, and so if you think about it, especially. We've got such a litigious environment, and so if you've got a commercial vehicle with $2 million of coverage, which is mandatory for a lot of commercial policies, and that commercial vehicle is involved in an accident with personal auto, that commercial vehicle could only be 10% at fault, but given the size of the limits and the amount of coverage available, there's an incentive there under our current system for that personal auto who was 90% at fault to pursue a claim against the commercial vehicle, which is just ludicrous, really.
Yeah. All right, two more bills. Senate Bill 231 from Mike Reese, you mentioned. This would allow lawyers for insurance companies to tell jurors how much people injured in wrecks actually paid in medical bills. Under the current law, they hear the total amount billed regardless of what the plaintiff actually paid.
Yeah, and so this is the medical expense transparency. This is one of the issues we've been talking about, for the past 9 or 10 months at least. And what we know is that inflated medical bills are driving a lot of these excessive payouts because right now we're withholding information from the jury. The jury is not given all of the information they need to make good decisions because they're only provided with the amount billed for medical treatment, which, is often much, much higher than what the injured party actually pays for the medical treatment. And so, again, this bill was heavily amended on the Senate floor and have not really had a chance to fully process what it does. But I do know that it allows the court to consider the billed amount as well as the amount actually paid. And I believe there's also a requirement that any sort of agreement between the provider and the patient that ties the payment of the medical bills to the settlement, that also has to be disclosed. So based on what I've seen so far, it's a very good bill. We may try to improve it in the House, or we may just leave it more or less intact. There's a risk involved when you start changing these bills when they move from one body to the next, because that creates the possibility that it could become watered down even more. So based on what I've seen, very, very good bill, very important bill by Senator Reese.
Right. And is it your committee that takes that up next week, the Senate bill?
No, that'll actually be House Civil Law Committee.
Ah, okay. And that was the bill that we heard Luno and Seabaugh debating about, I believe.
I think so, and I don't want to be critical of anyone or of any particular industry, but right now, for many trial attorneys, the whole system is dependent on these inflated medical bills, and so we need more transparency in that process. And so, look, people who are benefiting from the status quo, from the system in place now, they're going to fight this to the bitter end, and I think that's why we saw that passionate debate Wednesday evening.
Sure. And then House Bill 436, sponsored by some guy named Firment, would prohibit undocumented immigrants injured in car accidents from collecting damages.
Yeah, and look, I want to give Person DeWitt some credit on this one too. He had a constituent that was involved in an accident with an illegal alien, and so we started working on this legislation together. And so what this bill would do is simply says, if you're here illegally, if you broke the law to enter our country, if you overstayed your visa, and you're involved in an auto accident, you're not entitled to sue an American citizen for things like mental anguish and anxiety and pain and suffering or lost wages. And look, we probably have 100,000 illegal aliens in the state right now. They're a tremendous burden on our social safety net programs, on our educational system, healthcare system. And so, this bill is going to help reduce the number of frivolous claims filed, but it's also going to encourage legal immigration. So, look, from my perspective, just a real common sense bill that everyone should agree on.
It sounds like the governor will sign all 5 of those bills if they come to his desk.
Yeah, in fact, I'm very grateful to the governor for he put in cards of support on every one of these bills in committee.
Good.
That's impressive.
Good to hear. All right, Gabe, we need to take a break. When we come back, I want to ask you about another bill that did make it through, House Bill 148, something that Commissioner Tim Temple was not happy about, and we'll talk more about that when we return here on Talkback.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics, with 27 providers and 3 locations. Someone can see you today. Stick around. More of Talkback is on the way.
So, tell me, when is the worst possible day for your AC system to fail?
Any day this summer!
That's right. And right now, Southern Air is offering a comprehensive AC tune-up for a special price of $59 per system. But you must book your appointment by May 31st to lock in this special offer. Don't wait until your cooling system fails on the hottest day of the year. Act now. Let us bear it. Visit southernairnow.com or call 318-777-5555.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy and founder of Wesley Financial Group. And I want to set the record straight. I am not an attorney. I've never wanted to be an attorney. And the truth is, I really don't even like attorneys. If I sound like an attorney or if I look like an attorney, I'll apologize. But what I've learned in my 15 years in the timeshare cancellation business is you don't need to be an attorney to get folks out of their timeshare. At Wesley, we've helped over 40,000 families cancel their timeshare without me being an attorney. And I want to share with you how we do it. Just give my office a call, and you will not talk to an attorney. And I guarantee if we take you as a client, we'll get you out of your timeshare, or you'll pay nothing.
Call now for your free information kit. 800-714-9090. 800-714-9090. 800-714-9090.
Hey, y'all, it's festival season. Here's what's on tap this weekend. May 23rd through May 25th, Gonzales Jambalaya Festival, New Orleans Street Festival, Mudbug Madness Festival in Shreveport, and Cajun Country Jam in Denham Springs. May 23rd through June 1st, Cajun Heartland State Fair in Lafayette. Visit festivals.explorelouisiana.com and make your plans to laissez le bon temps rouler.
We're Sinlaw Broadcasting, local radio doing local public service.
Arnold Wendell Bontemps, a noted black poet and author, was born right here in Alexandria back in 1902. He is credited with writing over 20 books, plays, and anthologies, and was considered the leading authority on the Harlem Renaissance. His birthplace home on the corner of 3rd and St. James downtown has been lovingly restored and established as the first ever African-American museum in Louisiana. Get the details at arnoldbontemps.museum.com.
This has been a public service reminder from Sinlaw Broadcasting.
If you'd like to take part in the show today, call the BOM Bank Talkline at 442-8255. That's 442-TALK. And remember, if you're looking to purchase or refinance your home, call Christina Bagwell at the BOM Bank Mortgage Department at 448-2430.
970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYO. To take part in the show, call 442-8255. That's 442-TALK.
All right, we're back with State Representative Gabe Firment running down for you the insurance bills that made it through the Senate on Wednesday. Gabe, one bill that also made it through, House Bill 148, would grant the insurance commissioner greater authority to reject, quote, excessive rate increases, something that really Governor Landry wanted to be put through, something that Tim Temple, the insurance commissioner, did not. So have you had a chance to kind of dive into that bill a little bit more, and is it as bad as it sounds from that standpoint?
Yeah, so House Bill 148 by Representative Wiley has been a little controversial. You may recall, I actually went to the floor in opposition to the bill when we passed it out of the House, because in its form, when it left the House, I just thought it went too far. It gave the commissioner arbitrary authority to more or less reject rate increases, and really, in my opinion, also it would have even given the commissioner the ability to mandate rate decreases, whereas I'm more of a proponent of let's let the free market work. Competition and capitalism is based on the concept that if your product is too high, somebody is going to come in and offer a better product at a lower price, and let the market regulate pricing. But look, it passed through the House, and so what we've got now, the bill that the Senate passed, it's from what I can tell, and again, what we call the re-engrossed, or I guess in this case the re-engrossed version of the bill is not available yet. It was heavily amended, and it's sort of a combination of the original House Bill 576, House Bill 148, House Bill 248, and a bill by Senator Allen that we thought was going to be the bill that moved forward. And so, based on what I've seen so far, the Senate did put some actuarial guardrails into the bill, which that was really my big concern, is that the bill that passed off the House floor, there was no requirement for an actuarial review to determine if a rate is unfairly high, excessive, or inadequate. And so from what I can see, the Senate did add some of those actuarial guardrails back into the bills. So, I don't know that I love the bill in its current form. Based on my initial review, it is going to be something that I can most likely support, since that actuarial justification is back in the bill.
So does that come back to the House now, that bill?
It does. It'll come back. And so that's Representative Wiley's bill. I suspect, based on what I'm hearing, that he will move probably as early as Tuesday, that he'll move to concur with the Senate amendments. And so the bill will not go back through the committee process. There'll just be a vote and debate, and we can debate concurrence. But I would suspect that the votes are there to concur with the Senate amendments, and that House Bill 148 would pass in its current form as it came out of the Senate.
Okay. I saw I'm sorry, go ahead.
So my concerns if I have concerns after I review the bill in its totality, look, any concerns with that bill vastly overshadowed by the really good, strong tort reform bills that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, I saw Tyler Bridges' article. He said, in sum, Landry emerged as the big winner politically, Senator said, while Tim Temple and the insurance industry appear to have had mixed results, with trial lawyers seemingly on the losing end. So that's quite a statement, the last part especially.
Yeah, well, and I would add to it, not only was Governor Landry and the legislature, I think that House of Representatives has been a big winner, but look, the biggest winner of all is going to be the people of Louisiana. And now it may not happen tomorrow or next month, but we know that these bills are going to reduce the number of bodily injury claims. They're going to reduce excessive payouts, and that should lead to more stability, more competition, and eventually downward pressure on premiums.
All right. I apologize to Nathan for hogging all the time here with the questions, but you had one you wanted to ask.
Well, I'm going to ask a different question than I originally had. It's just real quick. Monday at the North Rapids Business and Industry Alliance meeting, Representative Johnson mentioned a software app that's available called LALEGE, LALEGE. And from what I can tell, it's phenomenal. I'm going to ask you to forward to the developers, who I hope you have contact with, that the newest version of Android, the app doesn't work on. So it says, when I try to download it, it says this was made for an older version of your operating system. So hopefully they can fix that for the Android users out there, all three of us. Just kidding.
No, I will. And no, the LaLedge app is great. And I'll talk to the communications office about that. And so, look, I'm glad you brought up Speaker Pro Tem Johnson, Nathan, because look, he deserves a lot of the credit in helping us get these bills through. He's kind of been like the shepherd through this whole process, and he's helped me keep this group of freshmen together. And look, without his leadership and his knowledge of the legal process, we never would have gotten to this point.
One last thing I want to ask you about. Julie O'Donoghue had reported how the House had voted for a rewrite of state campaign finance laws. I'm not sure which bill that was, but can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, no, and I've been so consumed with insurance, I can't say that I dug into that deal in depth, but her comments I thought on Twitter were just ridiculous. So, my appreciation of that bill, I think that was Mark Wright's bill. Mark is the chairman of the Republican House delegation. And this bill, the intent is just to streamline the Campaign Finance Disclosure Act. It does raise the threshold on some contribution limits, but it also addresses the party primary system, which we're fixing to start utilizing again, and then it also addresses things like recall elections and propositions. So, yeah, it's a long bill, 107 pages, but for the most part, it just streamlines the Campaign Finance Disclosure Act.
Roger that. All right, Gabe, thanks so much for breaking this all down for us. Makes a lot of sense, easy to understand. We appreciate it, and there was nothing goofy about your explanations.
Well, thank you for that. We'll have to get into that on the next interview.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, Al. Thank you.
Thank you,
Nathan.
Gabe. State Representative Gabe Firment, District 22, our guest here on Talkback. When we come back, we're going to talk crawfish. Do you suck the heads?
I do not.
Okay.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics with 27 providers and 3 locations. Someone can see you today. Stick around. More of Talkback is on the way.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Apple and the European Union now in President Trump's crosshairs. He's threatened a 50% tariff on goods from the EU starting June 1st, saying trade discussions are going nowhere. Trump also threatening Apple with a 25% tariff if it doesn't make iPhones in the U.S., not India, like it planned. The president's post shifting market futures. Target shares are up 2.2% in pre-market trading, despite the company's disappointing quarterly results. The retailer is still getting backlash over its DEI cuts. Wall Street's enthusiasm for Target is also at its lowest in more than 6 years. Last call for Jo-Ann Fabrics. The bankrupt retailer closed more than 250 locations last month. The remaining 440 close for good next week. And it could be a huge weekend at the box office. Disney's live-action Lilo & Stitch is forecast to rake in $165 million in ticket sales. It's already made $20 million in pre-sales. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning could make another $55 million. Monica Ricks, Bloomberg Radio.
For over 35 years, Security Metal Roofing has been Cenla's trusted name for metal buildings and roofing. When it comes to the highest quality materials at rock-bottom prices and top-tier service, nobody does it better. And don't worry, great prices doesn't mean cutting corners. Our Cool Chemistry color sheeting comes with a 40-year warranty, plus the peace of mind that comes with a team that has over 150 years of combined experience. From sheeting and red iron to roll-up doors and insulation, you get more for your money at Security Metal Roofing. Whether you need a new roof, carport, or are building your dream shop, we're here to help every step of the way. Apples to apples, we won't be undersold. And that's a guarantee. Call 445-0223 for your quote today, or visit us at Security Metal Roofing on Masonic Drive in Alexandria, or online at securitymetalroofing.com. Security Metal Roofing, your local experts in metal roofing and buildings, where quality, service, and price come together.
Got a big day ahead of you? Then it's best to fuel up with some of Cenla's best at Bricato's Restaurant. Walk right in and just smell that home-style cooking. Place your order, take a seat, and do breakfast right till 9:30 this morning. Get fresh biscuits, eggs any way you like them, melt-in-your-mouth pancakes, grits, hash browns, sausage, bacon, even wraps and sandwiches. And don't forget their fresh brewed coffee. Bricato's Restaurant, 28 West, right across from the Coliseum. Your breakfast is waiting for you.
Well, good morning. Partly cloudy skies on our Friday with the possibility of some scattered showers and thunderstorms this afternoon. We're seeing about a 50% chance of that. Afternoon highs near 91. We'll see winds out of the south-southeast at 5 to 10. Now tonight, a few clouds from time to time, otherwise 73 the overnight low. And our Saturday, another warm day with partly cloudy skies. Afternoon highs near 90. Tonight's your forecast from the Cenla Broadcasting Weather Center. I'm Dick Grayson. Currently 75 degrees in Cenla.
Now back to Talkback, 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYO.
All right, welcome back, everyone, and happy Memorial Day weekend to all of you. I imagine people will be having some barbecues, some picnics, and there might even be a little crawfish eating going on this weekend, and that transitions us into our next guest. You'll probably recognize the voice. He does call in from time to time. Mr. Jay Huner joins us on the show to talk a little bit about crawfish. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your background and your history. You kind of come from the education world, academia, where a lot of your research has gone into things like crawfish.
Yeah, I'm originally from Baton Rouge, and my father was a avid outdoorsman, sportsman, that sort of thing. And he came from Buffalo, New York, and found out that he loved crawfish and crabs.
Huh.
And so we always had crawfish and crabs as long as I can remember.
Right.
And since that's back to the 1950s, that's quite a while.
So your education background, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I went to LSU, and I was in the zoology department, and I graduated a little bit early. And so I was trying to get my master's degree, but Uncle Sam called.
Okay.
And I was in Shemia at the end of the Aleutian Islands when I was told I was being transferred to Barksdale. Well, that wasn't bad since I'm from Louisiana. My wife is from Vernon Parish.
Oh, wow.
The thriving metropolis of Pitkin.
There you go.
And so that was great. That was in February. In early March, I got another message saying, would you like to get out of the service? And I said, how fast? So I contacted Jim Avalt, who was the professor of fish farming, aquaculture at LSU, to see if he had any funding for research students. And he welcomed me back to study producing crawfish for fish bait. And when I got to LSU, he said, well, you've completed all the requirements for a master's degree except a thesis. Would you like to go to on for a doctorate and skip on master's?
Wow.
And I said, okay. Figured I could always write a thesis if I didn't get through. But I did ultimately graduate in 1975 with a doctorate in marine sciences. And my first job was at Southern University, where I worked for 13 years before transferring to the University of Southwestern Louisiana to be the director of the Crawfish Research Center. I retired in 2005 at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette.
Wow. So, and again, a lot of your work still kind of went into studying crawfish. I guess, would we say the ecology of crawfish?
Well, all manner of things about crawfish. The basic biology and pond management, that sort of thing. Along the way, I had a sabbatical in Finland. That was kind of interesting. I wanted to go to Spain where it was warm and they had our red swamp crawfish. But the Finns were the only ones that had any money to support the trip. So,
and I read that in your bio about Finland. I thought Finland has crawfish, but then I did a little research on it, and they actually have a pretty thriving industry, and apparently use them as signal monitors or whatever you call it, where they're looking for pollution and all sorts of different things.
Well, that and the Scandinavians have a long history of having crawfish parties to celebrate midsummer. When, of course, there's no night at midsummer in Scandinavia.
Wow.
And the crawfish there are scarce, and they're expensive. And so a typical crawfish party in Sweden or Norway or Finland, you get 5 crawfish per guest.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, they are not teetotalers. And you can take the crawfish with a small knife that's specially prepared, and you can dissect the crawfish. And you have little squares of toast, and you can make about 5 sandwiches out of a crawfish, including the yellow, in quotes, fat, which is actually the crawfish liver. And after you eat one little sandwich, you take a shot of aquavit, which is flavored vodka. And so about after the second crawfish, everybody's quite happy.
I saw pictures of the crawfish parties with the crawfish spread out on the tables, and they apparently use dill as opposed to what we would use here. But I don't know if it's a garnish or it's cooked with, but it was surprising to me to see how similar the joy is over that in that country.
Yeah, well, they make do with smaller amounts, but dill is the flavoring. They don't use any spicy stuff in the water. It's salty water with dill. And it's an interesting flavor.
I'm sure.
Not quite like the crab boil flavor you have down here, I guess, huh? So, all right, well, we need to take a break. Jay Huner is our guest, and if you have any questions about crawfish, feel free to call in at 442-8255. Back after this.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics with 27 providers and 3 locations. Someone can see you today. Stick around. More of Talkback is on the way.
You too could have a beautiful smile in as little as 12 weeks. Exclusive to today's Dental in Pineville, Virtual Align Clear Aligners. The fastest, most convenient, affordable way to straighten your teeth for people on the go. Plus, they're invisible. No one will know you're doing it. Experience the Virtual Align difference. Call Today's Dental at 448-4540. It's a general dental facility on Highway 28 East in Pineville, owned by Dr. Jonas Goche. 448-4540.
Success is about momentum. For over 20 years, Kinetics has been moving businesses forward with cutting-edge IT, cybersecurity, and marketing solutions while keeping them secure, innovative, and competitive. We power progress with next-gen business technology and marketing solutions designed to keep your business ahead of the competition. Need seamless IT, a bold new brand, a strategy built for what's next? Don't get left behind. Move forward with Kinetics. Visit kbisp.com and take the next step today.
Fentanyl is being used to make fake prescription pills. Assume any prescription pills you see online are fake, including Oxy, Adderall, and Xanax. To help prevent opioid overdose, naloxone is available over the counter through pharmacies, and many community service organizations have naloxone and fentanyl testing strips for free. Be prepared, carry naloxone, and know the signs of an overdose. If you or a loved one needs help or resources, go to opioidhelpla.org. Brought to you by the Louisiana Department of Health.
Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
when the storm rolls in, my time to find a pet-friendly evacuation center will have run out.
The scorching heat wave will leave me powerless to cool my insulin.
I'll face a hurricane without meds. Now that's a tough pill to swallow.
Let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, can potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
Do you have a drug problem? Do you want to stop? Well, there are folks who can help. Call Narcotics Anonymous at 1-585-DON'T-USE or visit their website at larna.org for more information.
Talkback. To take part in the show, call 442-8255. That's 442-TALK.
And welcome back. Alan Nathan with you. We're talking with Jay Huner about crawfish. I always want to know, who was the first person that picked up one of those things and said, I bet this would be good to eat?
In North America, it was certainly a Native American.
Sure.
Probably so. Go ahead.
Well, you mentioned, you asked me if I sucked the heads,
yeah,
and I said I didn't. And then off air, Mr. Huner, Mr. Jay asked me if I eat liver, and I said, well, I do. He said, well, that's all that's in there. I got to thinking about it since then, Mr. Jay. I eat fried liver. So if I could fry that stuff in the crawfish head, I would eat it. But I don't know about the raw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unprocessed.
Well, when you get a pound of crawfish tails, don't you see some yellow stuff in it?
Sure, yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's mixed in when they're peeling the tails.
Gotcha. All right, we have some calls coming in on the BOM Bank Talkline. Let's take those. Good morning, you're on Talkback.
This gentleman's also he's a bird watcher too, so I've only met him once before. I have a question and then a story. My first question is about the hummingbirds. Now, I live out not too far from you, and I've had hummingbirds for years and years and years. And this year, there's 0. Is there something going on there that I don't know about? Did they change their pattern of flight or something?
I can't say because I have plenty of where I live.
Maybe he's stole
maybe I'll send an Uber over there and pick him up. Anyway, I have a story, and I tell this story sometimes, and people say that I'm making it up. Okay, maybe so, because it's 62 years ago. Okay, I was in the Army, stationed in Germany, and I had a very interesting sergeant that was in our company, Sergeant Rudolph. He was a very interesting man. He's the guy that would eat the raw eggs with the Tabasco in the top. And so one time, I distinctly remember him when we would go to the field a lot and spend a week or 10 days or 2 weeks maybe out in the field and playing war games and stuff. And to my recollection, I believe I remember this guy going down to a creek. Their water is absolutely fabulous there. It's just crystal clear. And picking up crawfish and bringing them. I'm from Iowa, so I don't know. The only thing I know about crawfish is to use them to catch bass and stuff. But anyway, bringing them back and cooking them in his hard hat, in his steel helmet, and putting Tabasco sauce on them. Now, the reason I remember that is because something like that just sticks in your mind. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Does that make sense, Jay?
Oh, sure. Why not?
Well, they have them in Germany, because when somebody told me they don't have them there, I looked it up on the internet, and it says they do have them there. But I remember him, and he must have been from Louisiana, because he carried that Tabasco sauce with him all the time.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean,
boiled them, cooked them in his hard hat, and did whatever he did with them, and put Tabasco sauce on them and ate them. So anyway.
You can take the kid out of Louisiana, but you can't take Louisiana out of the kid.
Exactly, yeah. He was a marvelous guy. He'd take 2 raw eggs and put Tabasco sauce on them and choke them down.
Wow, man. That's amazing.
All right, Jay. Well, God bless you. You're a good bird watcher, but I'm just telling you something. To me, there's something wrong in the bird world. I don't know what it is. I used to have buntings that would come to my bird feeders and stuff like that, and I just don't see them anymore. Well, anyway, have a great weekend. God bless.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Well, to address that issue, there has been a general decline in songbirds throughout North America, and it's generally thought to be a number of different potential problems. Lights, birds running into buildings, different kinds of pesticides now being used, killing the insects that they need, and perhaps warming of the climate.
Interesting stuff. All right, let's take another call. Good morning, you're on Talkback.
Good morning, y'all.
Good morning.
Just want to share a crawfish story. You're talking about people from Europe and crawfish in Germany and Norway and whatnot. Well, we've had a couple of exchange students at my house growing up, and whenever their family would come over to visit sometimes in the spring, and we had a family from Germany come over, and we decided to have a crawfish boil to celebrate them coming over. And they were used to the parties like you were talking about, where each person gets 4 crawfish, and it was a big to-do. And they see us dump this giant ice chest of crawfish out on the table. And the dad couldn't help himself. He goes, "Oh my God, you must be rich." And I'm like, no, it's crawfish. And we wasn't until later that we found out that was kind of the tradition over there, because they were so much more expensive than they were over here. So anyway, just a fun story.
That's a great story. Thank you for sharing. So, of course, in the Midwest, we call them crayfish.
Well, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, apparently now, though, there's a fancier word. Mr. J is an astacologist.
Oh,
right. Isn't that the study of crawfish?
That's correct. In Europe, the first crawfish that was identified scientifically in, I guess, 1750 or so was called Asticus asticus. And in the early 1970s, the Europeans had a big symposium on crawfish. And they decided to call their organization the International Association of Asticology, not astrology.
Right.
And so it's been in existence now, I guess about 50 years.
Wow.
I could see some serious problems, though, with some Cajuns and some long neck beers and Asticus asticus. There would be a misunderstanding using that word.
I've already got a shirt to market. Kiss my astacologist.
Is sponsored by The Clinics with 27 providers and 3 locations. Someone can see you today. Stick around. More of Talkback is on the way.
Craving mouth-watering barbecue and juicy steaks? Head on over to Cole's Barbecue and Steakhouse, the top barbecue and steakhouse in Alexandria. Our warm and welcoming atmosphere is the perfect setting for a night out with friends or a family dinner. Indulge in our premium barbecue and steaks, fresh salads, and handcrafted burgers. Come as you are, we're ready to serve you. Visit Cole's Barbecue and Steakhouse today on Coliseum Boulevard across from the Rapides Parish Coliseum. Expect real good food.
Did you know that 71% of all licensed real estate agents did not sell a single property in 2024? Hi, this is Trish Lala. When it's time to make the largest financial decision of your life, buying or selling a home, what's happening in the market really matters. The good news is you actually can still come out ahead if you place your trust in an agency with decades of experience handling all of those ups and downs. When experience matters, we're here for you. The Trish Lala Group.
We're Sinlaw Broadcasting, local and proud of it, just like this group.
The Central Louisiana chapter of the American Red Cross is located on Bolton Avenue, right here in Alexandria. Their mission is to prevent human suffering in the face of emergencies by mobilizing the generosity of donors and the power of volunteers. And since volunteers are a big part of everything they do, they could use your help. Learn more online at redcross.org.
This has been a public service reminder from Sinlaw Broadcasting.
Sinlaw Broadcasting is local, so we promote the locals.
Beneath a canopy of mighty oaks, towering cypress trees, and colorful bamboo, discover over 500 remarkable animals from all over the world. The Alexandria Zoo is the area's largest year-round family attraction. Come explore a natural world filled with hoots, howls, and roars, right here in the heart of Central Louisiana. Learn more about it or volunteer at thealexandriazoo.com.
This has been a public service reminder from Sinlaw Broadcasting.
Hey, y'all, looking for the hottest country? Tune in to today's best country, 100.3 KRRV. We've got your favorite country hits and new country songs that'll have you singing all day long. From the legends you love to the stars of tomorrow, it's gotta be 100.3 KRRV. Tune in and turn it up.
There's no better description than to say St. Jude is a place of hope. My name is Lindsay. I'm alive today because of this incredible hospital and the generosity of so many who wanted to support it.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Talkback, 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYL.
All right, our final segment of the morning, and as I always like to say, of the week as well. We've got some more calls for Jay Huner. Good morning, you're on Talkback.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I've been seeing a pair of bald eagles, male and female, in my neighborhood, which is not too far from the radio station. They come and they go, and a neighbor of mine took a picture of one last year, and my next door neighbor got one right there in one of his trees. So, and talking about crawfish, there's an old saying: if you live north of Alexandria, you don't eat crawfish, you're just another GD Yankee. But I got to tell you, back in the 70s and 80s, I used to go up to this big shoot up in Indiana. These guys I knew from Baton Rouge, they would haul crawfish up there and boil them for those people.
Mm-hmm.
And bring, one of them was this Cajun. He would cook all kinds of jambalaya, gumbo, all kinds of things for them. And they loved it. They couldn't take community coffee too much. Once you leave the state, the coffee turns weak. My wife won't drink it.
That's true. That is true.
All right.
Thank you for the call. We appreciate it. Take another one. Good morning. You're on Talkback.
Yeah, Dr. Huner, I'd like to say I enjoy your articles you have in the Honeywood Journal. I subscribe to it mainly so I can just read your article about the birds. Very interesting.
Well, thank you for the compliment.
Anyway, I got a question about lobsters and crawfish. How close are they related? They're obviously related, but how close are they related genetically or whatever? Got to be close.
Probably about as close as we are to monkeys.
Some of us more than others, in other words.
Well, the issue is that in evolution, development, whatever you want to call it, they occupy the same sort of habitat. And so they came similar morphology because of the similar habitat.
So there you go. Thank you, caller. Thanks for the call.
Is there such thing as a brackish water crawfish?
Say that again?
our crawfish can stand salinities up into the 6 and 7 parts per thousand, and you get a stomach ache drinking that water, but it wouldn't hurt you per se. They're much happier at salinities that are lower than that.
And I saw in my reading that they don't like polluted water. So is that why they're used as signal animals like canaries in a mine shaft?
Well, I'm not all that familiar with that particular, but if you can't find crawfish in any of our systems, aquatic systems, it's suggestive that there's a problem.
Interesting.
Only got about a minute left, and before the show, you were telling me how many species of crawfish there are here in Louisiana.
Right now, officially, there's 38 or 39, but crawfish make burrows, and you see the chimneys on top of the burrows, especially in low-lying areas, and getting them out in order to detect what the species are is kind of interesting. Usually a backhoe is the best way to do
it. We used a hot dog on a string when we were kids.
Really?
That was the fun.
That worked pretty well?
Well, it got to the top. You had to get them because they would let go right at the very top. So you had to be quick.
Yeah, that's how we would catch crayfish, a little piece of bacon on a string in the water. So,
right.
So there you go.
Good stuff.
Thanks for hearing. This is a fascinating conversation. Thank you so much for coming in.
Well, appreciate it.
Yeah, and we'll look forward to your calls continuing as well. So, all right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate Nathan being here with me all the week. Enjoy your time down in Mexico.
Yes, sir. I look forward to it.
All right. It'll be me and Sandra with you on Tuesday, as we hope you enjoy a nice, restful Memorial Day weekend. And remember the reason for it, everyone. Have a great weekend. We'll talk with you on Tuesday.
You've been listening to Talkback. The opinions expressed were those of the hosts and callers, and not necessarily those of Cenlaw Broadcasting. FM 104.9, AM 970, KSYL, and KRRV 100.3 HD3, Alexandria.
It's 9 o'clock.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. Markets are plunging at the open. The Dow right now down 376, NASDAQ off 255 after President Trump vowed to slap a new round of tariffs on products manufactured overseas. CBS's Stacey Lynn.
The president is threatening a 50% tax on all imports from the European Union beginning June 1st, as well as a 25% tariff on Apple products unless iPhones are made in America.
For Apple in particular, this can be a big deal.
Tech contributor Ian Scher.
Not only because it's one of the most highly valued companies in the world, but also because it primarily relies on foreign manufacturing for its business.
Harvard suing the Trump administration for yanking the university's ability to enroll international students. President Alan Garber calls it unlawful and unwarranted. Correspondent Nikki Batiste.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem warned yesterday that similar steps could be taken against other universities that don't cooperate.